Welcome to the market recap presented by Tackle Trading. Get in the game.
Good afternoon, Tackle Traders, and hello, YouTube. This is Frank coming to you with another market recap. It is September 25th. It is a Tuesday. One of those days in the market where the market was pretty flat, but there were still some moving sectors. As we kind of look towards tomorrow's Fed meeting, I think it was let's take the day off and see where we're at tomorrow type of a deal for a lot of traders today. Really quickly, before we get into it, big name coming out tonight with earnings, Nike. There's no info on them when I checked a few minutes ago before I hopped onto the recap. So we'll have to check into that on our own here a little bit later. Obviously, before tomorrow's open, Nike, Dow company, and S&P company, and they're big. So they definitely, we want to follow them. Also, a couple S&P companies. You have Centrus coming out tonight, and then CarMax coming out tomorrow before the open. So a little bit of earnings stuff, but mostly it's because of the huge name that is Nike, right? That's a big name. We also have some news coming out tomorrow. Going to be one of those newsy type days. Obviously, we have our Fed meeting, which, we don't know if that's going to impact the market. We just know it can, so we want to be aware of it. We also have our new home sales tomorrow, as well as our EIA crude inventory report. So a little bit more newsy day than I would like. I would like to live in a bubble without news, but it is what it is, and we'll see how it goes. So shifting gears into kind of what happened in the market today, really pretty flat. No major movement. I know we're up a little on a couple of indexes, down a little on a couple other, but really not too much exciting going on. S&P just kind of continues to hang around. It is continuing to kind of hang around that old breakout point, but really very, very flat over in the S&P. NASDAQ pushed up a little bit, but still below resistance. Very unchanged. It's going to be a common theme today, that's for sure. Very unchanged over on the NASDAQ as we move into tomorrow's meeting. A little bit more pullback on the Dow, which is kind of nice to see from a technical point of view. It wasn't down much. I think 0.2 or 0.25% or something. But another day of pulling back in the Dow, which has been very strong, of course, lately. We've not seen any turnaround just yet, and we'll see that a lot as we look at our sectors. But I think we're pretty happy to get a pullback. I know I am, at least. And then our friends, the Russell, they are nothing if not consistent, right? Lately, continue to do their song and dance, holding that 17. Can't get the ball rolling, but not ready to throw in the towel just yet. So we continue to be very sideways, holding our own, but not really tempting anybody to join in the fray. We did start having a little bit of movement today, but kind of sold off of the highs to close pretty flat, as we've pretty much grown accustomed to when it comes to the Russell. So not a very exciting day as we look at our overall indexes in the market. We do have our pullbacks continuing to develop, though, in our materials, industrials, in our financials, to name a few sectors that I think are pulling back. Here you have the material sector, another day of selling, kind of working back in towards those moving averages. I'm excited about it. You guys know me, I wasn't jumping for joy when the material sector broke out. I was not feeling great about it. So I didn't really get to take part in the big move of last week in the material sector. So it pulling back makes me very happy because I'm going to potentially at least get another opportunity. Let's watch to see if we can get one of those turnaround candles. Ideally, we'll see it, kind of flatline tomorrow into the next day and then give this a nice signal. We'll see if that's what we get, but hey, we can always ask for it, right? So we are continuing. Of course, we have our previous swing low down here, so we're not doing anything technically wrong. It's been a little bit more of a violent pullback than maybe I would have ideally liked, but I still am overall pretty interested in all of these pullback type of sectors. Over in the energy, we gapped up on the open and then really didn't do much. We gapped up and then had a little bit of a run and then really just kind of did the slow drift all day long, closing up on the day, but really a very flat day. Kind of closed up on the day because of the gap. Not a super bullish candle, but it has been very strong. Our breakout, still, of course, remains intact. We came pretty darn close to the higher end of those ranges from before. I personally think the play on energy is wait for a little bit of a pullback. If you're interested in playing, into this bullish breakout, wait for a little bit of a pullback and a buy signal before hopping in. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Of course, you will look for what you think is the best thing to look for, and I would expect no less. In the financials, very similar to where our materials are, continue to pull back. Had that strong week. It really comes down to, do you think this week's the outlier or last week's the outlier? Now, these sectors that are having these pretty steep pullbacks, all of them have been an overall pretty good upward move. So I'm going to bet on the longer term trend, which is up in these different sectors. But we've not yet seen any sign that tomorrow needs to be the day that it turns around. Right? We'll continue to monitor this, much like the materials and the industrial sector as well. Industrial sector was probably the hottest, I guess, lately. There's been a lot of hot ones, but it's been very hot lately. Continue to pull back. We are working closer towards that breakout point, which would be a very interesting spot from a potential entry point of view, in my opinion. I don't know that we're going to get all the way down there. Haven't seen any turnaround yet, so maybe we will. I would like that. That's something I'll be cheering for. But really, I'm starting to hope for in the next couple of days we get those turnaround candles. That's what I'm really hoping for. Over in the tech sector, very black, very boring. We're still kind of dealing with that same little intraday overhead resistance that's been causing us a little trouble. Holding trend, really just one of those things. I really think, my opinion is, if tech can break through that, there is some nice upside. But until it can break through that, I just have to assume it's just going to keep bouncing back and forth between the 50-day moving average or so and that resistance level. Over in the staples, we did continue to sell. We actually broke and closed below our 50-day moving average over there. We did kind of hold on it a little bit on the intraday before kind of giving out. I have to look at this the same way, in a lot of ways as these other sectors. But like I said yesterday, for some reason, just not liking it as much, and that can change. If we start to see some turnaround here within this area in the 50, that can definitely change. But maybe it's a potential double top. We haven't broke support, haven't done anything wrong. Unlike utilities and real estate that have shown technical weakness, these guys are just pulling back, much like the other things that I like. Well, I like, financials. They've sold off a lot over the last few days, really no different than staples. Really nothing different on the chart. It just, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, and I might very well be wrong, but I'm just not quite very excited about the staples right now. But again, that can change. Show me some good buy signals, and I will change my opinion, right? So utilities continue to get crushed following that break. That's why these breaks are such a big deal. I mean, they don't always free fall, but they certainly can. We've really seen a ton of selling on the utility app, put up a little bit of a fight the first couple of days, after it broke. But that was more because it was dropping so much that it was just becoming tempting to intraday traders to buy and short sellers to cover, I think. We are getting awfully darn close back towards, some old resistance, some old support. That 200-day moving average isn't too far away from us. We're pretty extended to the downside, but still, this is a very bearish chart, in my opinion, at least. Not anything I'd be looking at from a bullish point of view. No ways about that. We did get a little bit of selling over in the healthcare, as we've come to expect on healthcare. We really just don't see very many big candles over there, and certainly don't see very many big red candles over there. Really just kind of doing a little bit of a mini consolidation. Had that break, nice pop. I like this kind of development because maybe if we can break through that once again, that's another little breakout opportunity. Maybe not as nice as a long developing breakout, but a breakout is a breakout, right? So we are kind of bumping into the same general ballpark on the top end. I'll be watching for a break because, well, the sector has been super bullish. And of course, I'll be watching for bullish opportunities until it tells me I shouldn't, right? I think we'll all be doing that on some level. Still sideways in the discretionary, pretty flat day. We're basically right smack dab in the middle. Overall, the trend is to the upside. So if you made me do anything, I would go bullish, but you're not going to make me do anything. Like I said, yesterday, I really think the play here is to play at the edges or wait for a break. I don't like this middle. I guess the middle could work if you're looking for something on neutral, like a condor or short strangle, something along those lines. But yeah, I'm going to just let it develop personally. And just When it goes sideways, it might break as early the next couple of days, and that's wonderful. But we saw, it can take a little while on these things to break because it's hard. It's hard to break support resistance. I know I say that a lot, but I say it because it's true. So, and then our real estate kind of caught their footing today, still really struggling following their break. They're awfully close to some support. We were watching this together when they broke out. We were watching this together when they pulled back. They're getting awfully close to a price that was pretty important in the not too distant past. Let's monitor that. But again, like you said, on anything that looks like this, you're going to have a hard time convincing me to buy. You might convince me that today's not the day to go short, not time to be a bear. You should either be one or wait for another opportunity. And I would agree. I don't want to sell at support. But I'm not personally interested in buying utilities or real estate off of these support levels that they're working towards because, well, they failed at support, they failed at resistance. They're showing a lot of weakness. And until they start showing some strength, they are on the do not buy list. Don't have to sell, but can't buy. So, and then lastly, looking at our communication services, remain pretty flat. A lot of back and forth over in that sector today as well. I mean, I think a lot of it was kind of carryover from yesterday. Most of the sideways things are still sideways. Most things that we're selling off are still selling off. So really, it was just, to me, it seemed like the type of day where the market said, let's just hang out, see what happens tomorrow with all that news, and then we'll get rocking and rolling again. So we'll have to see how that news impacts the market tomorrow. But that's kind of how I feel about what happened in the market today. Moving over into our commodities, gold remains boring and gold and still continuing to consolidate. So nothing to say here that we haven't said a dozen times, right? We're still in that range. We still have a potential break to the upside, potential break to the downside. Today, we've got nothing. We are still smack dab in the range. Now, silver, on the other hand, actually broke to the upside. It's been fighting on that top of that range for the last few candles. It had that midnight, was like 2 a.m, fake out a few days ago, was able to push through and close above it today. I got to call it a buy signal. I'm not interested. I don't like it, but that is a buy signal. Breaking through resistance is hard, and it definitely did that today. Certainly got some overhead resistance, that 50-day moving average. Those are areas I'd be looking at, whether I bought in, wanted to be bullish within this sector, or if I'm just saying, hey, good for the bulls, wish you well. When we get into some resistance zones, I'll look to go short. I find myself more in that camp too right now. I'm not really interested in this break, but I would call it a break. I would call it, and I wouldn't fault somebody if they did move in from a bullish point of view on this break because, well, it is a buy signal, regardless of my personal opinion. So it's nice to see something happen in the metals market, right? We've been accustomed to skipping them by almost completely lately. So we remain really flat in the dollar. We continue to hold that old supported resistance, really just kind of going very, very flat towards the bottom of this longer term range. Again, to me, there's really nothing to see here on the dollar right now. I think you're still overall slight bearish bias, but maybe, once we get through the Fed meeting, maybe that can give it some clarity. We can start to see some signals, whether it's to break, start showing some upward strength or breaking down. Either one would be good by me. But today, I think you have to say what you said yesterday and the day before. And whatever that was, probably where your head's still at. For me, it's still moderately bearish, but really leaving it alone. Natural gas, though, I think you can clearly say yesterday we kind of had the debate where you could have said it was a break if you were aggressive, but it's perfectly reasonable to say, I'm not quite sold if you're a little more conservative like me. Today, I think you can't say anything other than we broke out. We really powered through that resistance today. It's a lot clearer, to me at least, on the weekly chart. Broke through, closed above that resistance. That is a very strong signal, in my opinion. It's very extended. So, I don't know how I feel about just jumping in today into the breakout today. It's a lot of strength. I wouldn't fault somebody for doing that, but I think that would probably come down to how you personally like to trade breaks. I would, like to see, pull back, consolidate, something like that. Of course, the risk I run is it might just keep flying up the charts because, make no mistake, it's on fire, right? It is definitely, it's not dull, that's for sure. But very positive development, clearly a break of that resistance. We know how much trouble that has caused us recently. We got a little room to run to the upside on natural gas. So I really think this is something we're going to be keeping an eye on from a bullish point of view. As long as we stay above that $3 area, I do think that will be something that bulls are looking towards. How we're going to trade it will probably come down to individual preference. It is pretty extended. I know a lot of traders, and I would consider myself one of them, don't like to jump into breakouts that are that extended. Doesn't mean they don't realize they could. It just they're not comfortable with it. And being comfortable is really important as a trader, right? There's always another trade. If I miss this natural gas trade, I'll say, darn it. I'm not a crazy person. At least I don't think. I want to be there, but it's okay. I'll get another opportunity if that's the case. But pretty awesome to see a breakout of that magnitude, in my opinion, at least. And then lastly, over into our crude market, relatively flat day, pushed up a little bit, sold off the highs, closed relatively flat, a little closer to the bottom of the day's range, but nothing really too dramatic. We obviously, that inventory report can have an impact on our crude tomorrow. I still overall, technically, I'm looking at this is in a pretty good bullish spot. I still look towards $74 as a target that I have in mind overall for this. It's been a little tricky on the entry for a lot of people because it's a fast break and then a fast pullback followed by a strong, quick movement up. It really only pulled back to the breakdown point for a couple of hours. I think we looked at that together last week. But we are still in an overall pretty bullish situation. But to show a little bit of weakness here today, we don't have to fly up to $74, right? I may be wrong. We may never get there. But assuming that I am right and we work towards that, it doesn't have to fly straight up there. I probably want it to, right? It's how we are as humans. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have to. Key thing to remember as we continue to hold that breakout point. Anything as long as we're above 70 until we develop something new, I'm probably going to be kind of a broken record when it comes to oil. As long as we hold that break, I'm probably going to be bullish until I start to make some lower highs or something along those lines, start to see some sell signals that I'm not seeing today, at least, anything that concerns me. But that's where we find ourselves over in crude, continuing to hold that break, continuing to overall perform very strong. Not a great day today, though. But again, we do have the inventory report, so we want to keep an eye on that if we are doing anything, or even if we're just following crude. It's very important to follow how the market responds. I don't really care for news much. You guys, some of you guys know me better than others, but I'm not much of a news guy, but I like to be aware of when it is and how the market reacts to it. I try not to ever have an opinion on news. I try to live in a bubble, and I can't live in a 100% bubble, but I do my darndest to live in as close to a bubble as I can. And so for me, I'm not a big newsie. I know a lot of traders really like the news, and that's okay. For me, I like the charts, and I like to know when something's happening so I can be, okay, if something dramatic happens on a Fed meeting, I've seen that many times before. A big move in the crude market on the EIA report, yeah, I've seen that many times before. So I want to be aware. Maybe I should want to dig more into it, but at the very least, we all want to be aware of these reports, right? Because they certainly can impact the market or the commodity or whatever it might be. So we'll kind of see how the market responds to all that news here tomorrow. And I'm excited to see what Nike does, big company. So I always like to follow those big companies on earnings. I don't know why, I just always have liked to. So we'll definitely have some things to talk about tomorrow. Looks like it's, for the most part, to me, it looks like a night where we're prepping trades as opposed to getting ready to get in tomorrow. And again, I should only speak for myself. I'm not seeing anything that's screaming tomorrow's the day to be buying, but I'm starting to get prices that are pretty interesting. I am definitely going to start prepping things with an eye that maybe Thursday, again, that might change tomorrow, but for an eye for later in the week. So that's where I think we are with the market right now. Wherever you find yourself, of course, make sure you're applying your trading rules, whatever it is that you are doing. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that will do the market recap for today. But as always, it is certainly my pleasure, and I do appreciate everybody's time. Be sure to subscribe to the Tackle Trading YouTube channel and hit that notification bell if you haven't already, so we can always alert you of any new content that we're posting over there. And of course, be sure to follow us over at Tackle Trading on Twitter to kind of keep up to date with some of the things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis, some of the things that we're watching. If you did enjoy the market recap, it is always very helpful and appreciated if you give it a thumbs up so we know that we're on the right track here. And with that, get out of here. Happy trading, and I will see you in the next one.